How's everyone doing today? Well, today I figured I'd do a video in my kitchen with all the veggies I've been growing. So today I'm going to show you guys how I do my pickles in a hot water bath can here. So the first thing that you want to do is get your hot water bath can started right away, because this thing takes like seriously an hour to heat up. It's a pain. If you have an induction unit, which I wish I had, it would be way quicker. But what I've got are 6 1-liter mason jars in there. And I'm just going to bring it up to temperature. Once it starts boiling, then I can add everything in. I've got my lids here. I'm going to put in some water as well, just to warm them up so the seals get gummy and they stick to the lids when you can them. And I'm going to get my pickles in there, or I guess my cucumbers right now, and my dill and my garlic, and then I'll show you guys the process of making pickles. So the recipe I'm going to use vinegar, some pickling salt, sugar, and pickling spice. So I gotta be honest, this is the first year I've actually used pickling spice in my pickles. I've never used it, so I've done some in my last batch. I'm gonna try some in this batch to see how it goes. Usually I just omit this, and generally I don't put very much sugar in either. I don't like a sweet pickle, so the recipe I'm cutting back quite a bit of sugar on it as well. So it's not like a sweet pickle because I think they're nasty. So it calls for half a cup of pickling salt, and pickling salt is a finer salt. Sorry, not finer, it's a bigger coarse salt, as you can see here. I'm not sure if you can see in the glass there. So we'll do half a cup here. And I may actually double this recipe because I find it doesn't go far enough for me. I always just make more pickles than I have brine, so I end up halfway through the process making more brine. It's a bit of a pain. So I'm going to go 1 cup of pickling salt. It calls for half a cup of sugar, but I might just do like a 1/4 cup, since technically it should be probably like almost a cup, but okay, toss that in. And now it calls for 3 tablespoons of pickling spice. I just kind of eyeball this. I don't really worry about this too much. Probably about 3 tablespoons there. And it also says to put it into a cheesecloth, wrap it in a cheesecloth, and just let it ooze out the flavors, but I don't care. I just add that all into my jar so you get the flavors really getting into your pickles. And it calls for 4 cups of vinegar and 4 cups of water. So I'm going to double it up and do 8 cups of each. It's a good thing that I bought more vinegar today as well, because I knew I was going to need it. And this is good to do while your hot water canner is heating up. So there's 4 cups there, so I'm going to double it for 8. And if you have extras later on after this, you can always save and do another batch of pickles or pickled beans or beets or whatever you'd like to can. Okay, so there we go, 8 cups there. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to put this on the stove right away so it starts coming up to temperature, and then I'll dissolve all the sugar and salt as well. And you'll want that at a full boil when you start putting your pickles into your jars as well, your cucumbers in the jars. So we'll let that come up to temperature, and then I'll put this stuff away, and then we'll get into the next step of getting your pickles, or sorry, I always call them pickles, your cucumbers, because they're not pickles yet, because you haven't made pickles. I'll get this cucumbers cleaned up, the garlic ready, and dill ready as well. So for those of you that like to actually follow the recipe and go by weights and measurements, I'll measure out my cucumbers here by weight for you guys, so you know how many I'm using today. So I have about 7.5 pounds of pickling cucumbers right now. So that should get me, I think, close to my 6 jars I have in there. So there we go. So other ingredients that you might want to be using for sure is your garlic. And I've got some fresh dill down here as well that I just picked from the garden. Smells lovely. And depending on what you want to do with the recipe, you can always add other things. My last recipe, I added some hot peppers, so I have some spicy dill pickles, which is always nice. Or you can just stick with the standard garlic and dill. So usually I like to do about 2 cloves per jar, but depending on your taste, you can go more or less or whatever works for you. So we'll get this stuff all cut up, cleaned up, and good to go. Okay, so you'll notice that I've got totally different sized pickling cucumbers here. And the biggest reason for that is, by the time I get it to the garden, sometimes I miss some, and some days I can't get out there for 2 or 3 days. So if you miss a guy this size, in 2 days it'll be this size. So depending on the size pickle you like, you can choose the size you like. But I use them all. The bigger ones like this, you generally need to cut them in half to get them in the jar better, so you can fill your jar up really nicely. So with these, what we're just going to do, we're just going to take off the stem in here, just nice and easy, paring knife, just nice and easy like that, and get them all done. And I just gave them a good wash as well, get all the dirt and stuff off. Ideally, if you have enough picked fresh the day that you pick them, you want to can them the day you pick them. But because I don't have time to do that, and I never have enough in one day, I just store them in my fridge. But what you want to do is store them in a plastic bag, and they stay crisp longer. If you just toss them in your crisper, they kind of go soft and limp and kind of useless. So store them in a little bag like this, and you'll have nice crisp cucumbers when you're ready to start canning. So a quick little chop just like that, nice and easy. And sometimes I'll do both ends as well, depending on what they're looking like. So this guy's probably pretty big, so I'll definitely probably cut him in half, but you can see the differences there. And a lot of people like the small gherkin sized suckers, so there we go. Okay, we'll get this cleaned up. So what I'll do, I'll go through and finish these off quickly, and then we'll get to the garlic and the dill part. Okay, so the next step, I've got my garlic from the garden as well that I picked mid-July. So I'm just going to get them all peeled. And like I was saying, if you can get the freshest ingredients from your garden and do them on the same day or like a day or two after, you're going to lock in the flavor of your ingredients into your pickles. You're going to have a much tastier pickle. And as well, if you're going to can them within a day or two of picking them, they're going to be a lot more crunchier, because they're not going to start getting, they're not going to lose their crispiness and crunchiness. So the sooner you can get them canned, the better. I tried fermented pickles as well this year, and they're okay, but I prefer the canned ones. Plus with the canned ones, they store and you can pick them up all winter long, whereas your fermented ones, you have to eat them fairly quickly. So I might probably do like 3 cloves per jar. I like a lot of flavor in mine. So I just quick cut them down, get the wrapper off. Smells so good, the garlic too. This stuff I can almost eat full raw. I'm trying some new garlic next year, and I've bought some seed right now, and it's super spicy, so I'm excited to get that going for next year and have some super spicy garlic. This garlic I have, it's a hard neck porcelain type. It's called Margarita. I got it from a friend of mine a few years ago, the seed, and been growing it. So it's a bit milder, but it's still a tasty garlic. I use it for everything. Okay, so I'll get these all finished up here. You probably don't want to watch me peel all these garlic cloves. Not the most exciting thing to be watching. So we'll get this cleaned up and then show you. Okay, I've got my garlic peeled here. So one quick little tip I'll give you guys right now is this clove is fairly big. So what I like to do is cut them into a few smaller pieces for 2 reasons. You can get, they don't take up as much space. The second reason is once you cut it, you're going to get more flavor from your garlic. From where you've cut it, it's going to just ooze out lots of flavor and add it to your garlic. Whereas if you just leave it whole like this, you're not going to get as much surface area of the garlic coming out. So just give it a good cut up. Doesn't matter what size, as long as you get a few pieces. So you have more surface area for the flavors to extract. Some of the smaller ones I generally don't worry about, but if they are small like this, I do just give them a quick little cut just for that extra surface area. And I like to have everything ready before I start canning as well. So all it is quick, pack into your jars, into the scanner, and then right off to the races. There we go. So I'll show you some of the equipment I use quickly as well while we're waiting for this water to boil up. Okay, so this is the equipment that I use. I'm using the 1 liter mason jar, which I said I've got in my canner already, getting up to temperature, sterilizing. You can usually either use the mason jars or the ball jars. I use mason jars because that's what's in my area. And then as well, you have a wide mouth funnel and your ladle. So once you have your jars packed with all your ingredients, you're going to ladle your hot liquid into the jar. So it's just to the top of the rim here. And then what else I have is this little stick with a magnet on the bottom. And once your lids have warmed up and gotten warm, you're just going to use that to stick it inside the hot water and pull it out. So you can pop it onto your lid here, or onto your jar, sorry. And as well, a jar lifter here, that you can lift it in and out of the hot water canner so you don't burn yourself, and it's a really handy tool. So those are the main tools you need for canning with a hot water canner. These things have lasted me years. I've had them, I don't even know, 5, 6, 7 years at least now, and they'll last a lifetime if you treat them properly. So once this gets all boiled up, we will start canning some pickles. Okay, so my hot water canner is pretty much boiling. My liquid here is starting to boil too, so I'm going to just turn it down for a minute so it doesn't boil over. I also like to have a cutting board here, so I bring my hot jars over. They're on the surface of the counter. And you need just a little paper towel or a rag just to wipe the rims of the jars too, so there's no food particles on the rim separating between the rim and the cap, so there's a good seal with it. So I am going to lift up the water, the jars here. And this is where your jar picker comes in handy. So the first jar or two, I'm just emptying the water out, because if you put any more water in here, it's just going to overflow. Okay, so there we go. So I'm going to get the garlic, about 3 or 4 pieces per, depending on what you want. I'm going to take my fresh dill here that I just picked this afternoon. I'm putting a lot in because I like a lot of dill in it. And then I generally start with the bigger one and stick it in there. And then start to work your way around with the smaller ones here. The idea is to get as much in as possible, so you have less liquid in there to fill the jar up with. And just careful because the jar is pretty hot here, so it's kind of tricky to get the pickles pushed in. I might even use a oven mitt. Would be the smart thing to do. And then this is what I do with my other ones here. Oh wait, I'll show you in a minute. Whoops, runaway pickle. Okay, so that's pretty good for that one. I could probably pack it a bit better, but we'll leave it how it is. So I'm going to take my liquid here and fill the jar up. It smells so good with the garlic, the dill, and the pickling spices. So I'll fill it up about quarter way from the top here. I'm going to take my little rag here, just wipe the top because there's a little bit of food particles there. I'm going to grab my lid here, pop it on, and you just want to go finger tight and back into the hot water bath here. Okay, so let's repeat the process. And this is the part where if you've got hot peppers or any other flavorings you like to add, stick them in now. So some of these guys are a little big, so I'm going to grab my paring knife here. And this is where you can cut them in half so that you can fit them in. There we go. And it makes it easier to get them out too when you've got them sliced a bit smaller. It's really hot. And if you got some extra room in the sides here, with the big ones too, this is where it's really handy if you slice them thin. That might be a little bit big for that one here. Let's see if we can get a smaller one in here. Just kind of wheel them around a bit. We'll go for a small one here. Get the small one in half. That way you're just maximizing the amount of pickles you're going to have at the end of the day. There we go, he's in. So we'll get the next one here. And don't forget you have wipe your rims off here, the top of them. Okay, so I'll go ahead and finish my jars here, and then what you want to do is put them in for about 15 minutes with that rolling boil, and then once you're done that, I'll show you the next process. In the hot water bath here, I set the timer for 20 minutes because sometimes the water cools down a bit when you're doing that process, so they should hopefully start boiling in the next 5 minutes, and then I'll give it the 15 minutes to boil. Once it's done, I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so it's been 20 minutes. It's boiling away in here nicely. So I'm going to lift this up. And pull them out one by one with my jar lifter. And you might be able to hear a little bit of hissing. That's just the air escaping and the lids are going to pop. And then that means that they're sealed and good to be stored for up to 1 year. So there you go, fresh pickles, growing everything from my garden inside this jar. So I hope you guys enjoyed that video, learn how to do some pickling at home, super easy, just takes a bit of time. Anyways, let me know what you guys are canning in the comments below. Love to hear what you guys are making, and if you guys have different alterations on your pickles, flavorings and things like that, I would love to hear them. Thanks for watching guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, give it a thumbs up and share it around. We'll see you out there, have a great day.